What's up, everybody? This is Semper with BRT. Um, we're jumping back into Finding My Way with Toad. He's coming back for season two. We'll pretty much call it a reset. It didn't feel like we finished the last season on a. It didn't feel like we finished it at all. But this season, we're gonna jump in with Toad. Toad's gonna share his strategy. Usually, the first week or two, we'll take it slow. We'll jump into the psychology of trading, which he pretty much already has down pretty good. There's still, as a new trader coming in, you're going to think you got a strategy down pat. Um, and then there's going to be a time where it doesn't work. And then you're going to be trying to strategy hop, which I highly recommend against. You don't want to be jumping strategies. You want to find a strategy that you resonate with, that is simple to follow, and is makes you see the chart the best or the easiest. You don't want to jump to another strategy because then you're gonna start to contradict or conflict your strategies together, and it's just not gonna be clear for you to make the right decision on what trades to take. That's why I kind of try to jump into the psychology part first, emotions, um, because as all traders, we've all been through the emotional roller coaster of up and down, especially um, when you're hitting green, green, green day, and then you have that one red day, and the emotions flip on you, and then you're on
Right.
tilt, and you're all fucked up, and you lose confidence in your trading, and you lose confidence in your trade setup, which you don't want to do. You just got to come to the realization that not one strategy is 100%. Unless you're a market maker and you're hyper scalping, you probably won't have 100% success rate. But guess what? Every professional trader knows that even being right 50% of the time, you will end up winning. And you know why? Because you need to learn how to cut your losers short and let the runners run, let the winners run. And that's going to make you successful, even if you're 50% right. And so if you could get that down and get your emotions in check, you're going to be that much more ahead of anybody that's barely starting out. So let's jump in with Toad. Welcome, Toad. Welcome back. Just to
Thank you.
get everybody in the same page, what kind of strategy are you using? And yeah, just give us the gist of how you use it, what time frames you use it on, and
Yeah. Yeah. So fundamentally, I use a EMA stack. And when I'm actually going intraday, looking for a setup, primarily the 5 minute, I look at the 15 for a larger trend. I don't really look at much higher than that because I'm not gonna hold for a whole hourly candle, so I don't really look at it.
Mhm.
I have the same stack on my hourly and on my daily, just because at this point I'm pretty all right with how it is working. So I've been looking at it for so long at this point. So if we're coming to an EMA on the daily that I know I would be looking for a short on the 5 minute, then I know in the back of my head that we've got some semblance of a macro short, at least per my
Yeah,
system.
yeah, for the longer term, for the macro trend, right? You're looking for
Mhm.
to see what bias that's in. Quick question,
Right.
what moving averages are you using and what colors are they on your chart? Just so everybody can make it easier for them to follow.
Yeah. Yeah. So I use the this yellow, blue, orange. You can see my cursor, right? Might
Yep,
be small,
yep,
but
yep.
all right, cool. yellow, blue, orange, red, green, and this magenta as the five yellow, nine blue, 15 orange, 30 red, 65 green, and this magenta 200.
How'd you come up with those moving averages? I never heard of any of those other than the 9 EMA.
Honestly, this actually, I stole this from somebody else.
Okay.
Um, and I started using it. I thought it was great. So when I first started even trading, I loved the MACD.
Yep.
And the MACD is based entirely on EMAs. It's just
Hmm.
the moving average convergence divergence, so it's based
Yeah.
on the difference between two EMAs. Um, and so I started loving, I was like, all right, the number one tool that I love is EMA based. I was like, I'm going to go with EMAs. And then I know, actually, I don't know if she made it, but a woman named Binks, who's a big trader, she was actually, I'm almost, she said this publicly, so I think it's fine to share, but she was actually told to use these by a market maker she's friends with. Um, and she was recommended to use these, and then one day I started watching her streams and stuff like that. I threw this MA stack. I started using the 5 minute MACD, and I thought it was fantastic. So I ended up running with that.
Cool. Yeah, that's something that I've noticed that it with the moving averages, it doesn't matter what moving averages you use because here at BRT we use the 10 SMA, 50 SMA, 100 EMA, 200 SMA, and the 666 SMA. It's just
Right.
what your eyes will adjust to any moving average. So if you came from a different strategy and you're joining BRT and you're used to using like I used to use a 180 simple moving average and the 90 moving
Right.
average, and then I didn't like it in that strategy, and then I met Brandon when he created the elite system and his the way that he used the moving averages, it just flowed easier with me, so I was just attracted to that. But yeah, that goes for
Right.
anybody. So if you're using different moving averages than Toad or than BRT, you don't necessarily have to change them because your eyes and your brain will adjust price action to those. It's just like the fibs. It's not a matter of when price action is going to hit or if that price action is going to hit your moving average. It's when it's going to hit your moving average. And you just have to adjust um, when those moving averages will be hit. Cool.
Right.
Um,
Yep. Yeah,
yeah.
that's exactly how I feel about it. Because one that I love that that BRT loves is the 100 EMA.
Hmm.
And I almost miss it. It used to be I put it as a green,
Hmm.
and super good over under the 100 EMA. But in the end, if my whole stack is directionally upward, I know the 100 is like right here. It's like somewhere under my
Yeah.
65. So I don't need it because and that just goes to what you're saying that it doesn't really matter what moving averages you use as long as you get used to them.
Yep. And how has your psychology or your emotions been trading this setup?
Oh, way better. So I remember when I first started, I loved anchors in the MACD. But the problem that I had with uh well, I'm not going to worry about the problems. It's been great. It's way better because I know that if I'm doing if I'm acting right, I'm following the trend as per my own averages.
Hmm.
And if I'm doing something wrong, it's very apparent to me because I look right at my spaghetti stack here and I say, I'm trying to fight this, and I just stop
Yep.
uh, and do whatever, whatever the reason is. Am I tired? Am I annoyed? Whatever the reason is, if I'm fighting this, I just will probably stop for the day.
Good.
And that's been a lot better because for
At least,
psychology.
yeah, definitely. As long as you find that trigger, like okay, I need to cut it off. I'm on tilt or
Right.
whatever it is it once you once you can identify that you're on tilt, you just need to figure out what you need to do to get off a tilt, whether it's taking a break, 15-minute break, doing push-ups, going for a walk, just anything to expend that energy. You don't want to keep it bottled up because me when I was a new trader, if I was on tilt and I didn't turn off my laptop, I'd get that itchy trigger finger and I'd be on the mouse making
Oh yeah.
another stupid mistake. And next thing you know, I'd blow up my account.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
that's good that you have identified that. Um, especially using, you know, moving averages or whatever it is. If you're using fibs, if you're using support and resistance, and you know you shouldn't be in the trade, but
Right.
you have that feeling like you should get in the trade, then you need to stop. Take a 5-minute break, close down your laptop or your computer, walk away from the screen, whatever it is. You need to just take a moment to reset. Because if you don't reset, your brain plays tricks on you. It's like you're hallucinating and you're gonna be like, oh, that's a trade I should be in. You're gonna click the
Yeah.
button. As soon as you click the button, you're gonna be panicking
Yeah.
because the trade is going against you. And that's what you don't want to be. You want to be calm, cool, and collected. You know the level that needs a hit. You enter on that level or the retrace or the confirmation of that level. Because that's another thing that a lot of new traders have an issue with is waiting for that confirmation. And I always tell you guys, patience pays. Patience pays because it does pay. You'll notice it when you're patient, you enter a trade where you're supposed to enter a trade, or you tell yourself you're supposed to enter here at this specific level, and you enter at that level, you will notice that you will not be like, oh man, it's going against me. Or you have that, like you immediately go into that self-negative talk and
Right.
you're just gonna manifest a loss, right? You
Yeah.
always want to stay cool, calm, and collected. Be like, I know that it might draw down on me, but I know it's gonna hit this level, right?
Yeah.
And also, if you rush a trade, you're just gonna start panicking. You're just not the right mindset to be in because you're either gonna stop out because you're nervous, and next thing you know, it's gonna move. The price action is gonna move in the direction that you knew it was gonna go, and then you're gonna have it in the back of the head. The market's out to get me. The market's out to get me. And
Yeah.
it's not. You just had to be a little bit more patient, get in where you were supposed to get in, where your confirmation was, and then you won't have a problem with your emotions getting in the way. So cool.
Yep.
Let's get into it. Let's see what the first recap is.
Yeah, definitely. Let's do it. So this one, first one, I just got these in order actually. These are mine from the last 3 days for you. Um, so here I usually hop on around 8. This was the 25th. I think that was Tuesday. Um, and we were on, on the stack, a bullish trend here, had a down wave on the MACD, got a kind of scrunched up 5 minute MACD here. As you can see, we turned green at the same time we popped over this 5-7. I say the primary thing I look at for like immediate trend is the 5-9. I mean, actually. Um, so we got the pop over this 5, strong closes, started wicking this stack here. And then we came and closed down a full body red candle that held the wick here, and got in at the close there, looking to at least retrace a good bit of it. Sometimes the market will do that full body green, full body red, full body green. So looking to at least retrace some of it. Got in 4 here, took a 4 or 5, but got out 3 or 2 here, at least half, whatever it was. Got out another one here and was looking, I had this fibbed out. So I was looking to maybe get to the top of this zone here. maybe to the R1, but kept the trail stop. Once I started getting pretty heavy in profit, I was risking, I think like 20 at most, maybe 19 points or so. So it was up 50, started trailing it pretty aggressively to keep all that. And then ultimately that trail ended up getting hit. Um, and then, yeah, what happened next? I've got on the next slide, but this was the first one along for the first thing of the day. I've got a pretty bullish temperament usually. Like I'm usually looking for longs. So I like to, if I can, start the day out with a long.
Yeah, definitely you want to, well, on your first trade, what I always used to do is, if I typically went in with one or, I mean, like two or three contracts, my first trade, I would trade with one contract, right?
Yeah.
Build up that cushion. And I'm not telling you to go one contract, um, but try to do your best to not over leverage, get in a trade that you know it's confirmed, it's a good confirmation to get in. And I liked your trade here that you took because you had structure confirmation. You're like, what's structure confirmation? We had a higher high right there, right? And then we have a lower low. Why? Because we broke this structure right here.
Yep.
We broke that structure and then we got a lower high. So now we're
Mhm.
in a lower high sequence. Uh, so you actually could have went in short here off that green zone to the bottom zone down here or a moving average to get in because a sequence was broken, right? But then this is what kind of helps me switch bias is once this structure is broken, right? Because it's always look back. Once that structure is broken, then you got to look for the next sequence, right? So if that structure was broken here with this wick right here, where'd it go? With this wick right here, because see, it broke this structure. It was
Right.
kind of up. So now that structure is broken, right? But we still haven't started the higher low, higher high sequence. So whenever it starts, so we got a higher high. So now, in order for us to be in a higher low, higher high sequence, um, you need to look for the higher low, right?
Right.
Because we got a
Yeah.
higher high. It broke the lower high sequence. So now we gotta create a higher low, which we got right here, which is cool. You could have got
Right.
in there, right? Because we
Hmm.
created a higher low. But the safer bet was right here where you got in. And you're like, why? Why is that? Because the way that I like to enter is it breaks, right? It broke the structure again right here or right here, either one. It breaks it. And then you want, I usually try to look for a doji or something. And I want that level to hold as support. And look at where
Right.
you entered, right at structure support, because this is structure.
Yep.
And you entered there to go long, which is perfect because the next structure over this is this one right here. It's not
Right.
much, but what you got to do is if you entered here, you have to look at this structure and look at how the candles react to that. So if that candle just smashed through that level and it closed with the full body, then you know that's strong. This one opened up down here and then it just pushed up. And you
Right.
know that the momentum is there to go up to the next level. And even though, like, say you don't see no structure over here, I always tend to squish up the chart and look for structure. And what I'm looking for is see how you have this zone? I want structure to line up with the zone, with the moving average, or with the fib level, whatever it is. when those structures line up with your levels, that structure is that much stronger. But yeah, good trade. Cool. Any questions?
Thank
Anybody
you.
have input? Lasagna Cat, Dell, anybody? Anything that they saw could help? I mean, it's a green trade, so you don't need help. But maybe
Okay. Good job.
maybe something that Toad could identify that I don't know. And usually when I another thing that I want to add, usually like if I got on there and it hits this structure right here, let's say that these candles hit that structure and just stopped right here and
Hmm.
and failed to make a higher high. Because remember, now we're in sequence, right? We got a higher high, higher low. If you enter on the pullback, always recommend either a pullback low, which is this, or a pullback high, which is like this, right? Because it's a swing high.
Right.
You want to see it bust through that level. If it fails to make a higher high, then you know that it might be exhausted and it might not have steam and it may go down.
Yeah, that's where a lot of also psychology comes into play because the best breakouts don't sit around
Nope.
for very long, you know, like we closed a full body red and then barely a wick on the next one, boom, another strong red. They don't sit around. So it's like when you enter the trade, even though you're committing to the trade, you've got to accept that it might not go. It's like just because you committed to it doesn't mean you can't get out of it.
Yep.
And also not looking for too much. So you see my first target here was pretty much right at this high back here.
Yep.
Not expecting it to make a higher high. If it did, I was ready to take that and then have a runner.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, definitely a lot of what you taught me a while ago, actually. Looking at these dojis here. So we came down, wicked this doji area. Um, and all of that. And then another part of this trade too is this dotted orange is the previous day
Hmm.
high, and the
Yep.
dotted gray is the previous day close.
And that
Um,
those
so
levels are some of the levels that Brandon likes to use a lot is either pre-market high, pre-market low, previous day high, previous day low. Especially when using fibs. Um, if it breaks, if it breaks above the pre-market high, then you know it's probably going to have momentum to squeeze up
right,
to the 161 if you're using fibs or to the next moving average above if there is one, or if there's a structure above. So those are
right,
all things you gotta always be looking, especially with Trump now. Trump puts out tweets and they can blow up your account in one candle, especially if you're
yep,
playing NQ. And that's another thing that I kind of want to give you kudos for is jumping on the micros. Just because everybody's on the NQ or ES showing freaking $1,000 days, $1,200 days, don't even FOMO. Because you look at that P&L, you're like, man, he's doing it. Why can't I do it?
right,
I'm just gonna jump on the minis. Next thing you know, you have a blown account.
right.
You can easily hit $250 to $500 a day trading 3 to 5 micros.
Oh yeah.
That's easily done. And that's trading maybe three to four times. That's it. So that's another thing that I suggest you do is start creating these rules. Okay, two max red trades. I'm done for the day. Um, no over trading. My over trading rule is 5 trades in a day, right? If I trade 5 times and I hit my goal, I miss my goal, or I'm red, I'm done. I'm not trying to chase the P&L
Oh yeah.
because that just puts you in a bad mindset where you're just gonna revenge trade. You're gonna rush a trade. You're going to not take the proper trade that you should be looking for. You're just gonna be like, oh, I need to make this money back. It's just
Hmm.
not a situation you want to be in. But
Yeah,
awesome
and
trade.
it's like by the time, thank you. It's like by the time we move to the next one, I'm saying by the time that here's a loss. By the time that that you see the move and the FOMO starts building. The FOMO is building because you witnessed the move. And if the
Hmm.
move happened, there's not another move usually right on the other side. You know what I mean? Like it's usually a lot of consolidation, some chopping, accepting the move, and then something else happens. So I definitely drilled that into my head too because especially at like a while ago, I'd watch the 8:30 to 10 a.m. play out, 10:30 a.m. PST.
Hmm.
And then I'm like, oh, like I took two losers. I want to make that back. But it's like now I'm trying to make it back in the lunchtime chop, because of
Yep.
the FOMOs. So it's there's a lot of little psychology rules, but that's definitely something I got way better at.
Yeah, definitely
Um,
no trading between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. PST. I highly
right.
recommend new traders do not trade that window. You're gonna get chopped out, chopped
Yeah.
up,
I
whatever
try
the
to hard
case.
stop at 11
Me,
EST.
I'm trying to get out by 9 a.m. PST. Like,
Yeah.
and if I'm in, I'm trying to get out like as soon as possible. I'm looking to get out because I know there might be a scam candle stop you out, and then it's gonna fucking take your stop and just run where you knew it was gonna go.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah.
But you can always. I'm not against completely not trading it, but you should learn how to trade that window. There's always gonna be like the opening window, right, from 6:30 PST or 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, to like about maybe 10:30,
Right.
like for an hour, hour and a half. It's like they happen in 2 hour windows where the trading is a certain type of trading, right? Like the
Right.
opening bell is super high volatility. You can get a good move, or you can wait for that volatility to die down, wait for market digestion if there was earning calls. And that's another thing. Earnings, um, any news that you see out there is gonna help with the psychology. The only tip that I give you for the psychology on news is if you're seeing the news put out like bad news, like, oh, it's gonna be a recession, it's gonna be the Great Depression or whatever, right? You want to sell the news, right? So if they're pumping fear into the news, you want to be greedy, just like Warren Buffett says. Be fearful when people are greedy, be greedy when people are fearful. If you follow if you follow that, you're going to be that much better in the bias for the day, right? So if the news is saying recession, 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 and they they dump it overnight, then the next morning it's probably gonna pop up, or
Can I can
vice
I
Right.
can I add
or
something
vice
to it?
versa. Yeah, go for it.
Two things. The first thing that you said, when the market open, wait for the market to die out, like for the volatility to die out. So this is exactly after market open at 9:30. The first 30 minutes, that's the opening range, and then after that, 10 a.m. whatever. Me, I try to time it with the 9:50 to the 10:10 macro. 10 a.m. That's when volatility, market usually find a direction by that time. So that's when the moves are a bit cleaner. Like not that you won't have as much volatility, but the first 30 minutes, if you do not trade, that's a very good rule. Because after that, like I said, the moves are easier because the market has already chosen a direction most of the time, and then you can just trade with the trend. So it's just to reinforce what you just said.
Perfect.
And the second thing that I wanted to say, when you just said, Warren Buffett said, whatever, like be fearful when they're greedy, be greedy when they're fearful.
Hmm.
The question I'm asking you, isn't that counter trending though?
That depends, right? Because what time frame are you using? What are
Right.
you using the daily? Because it can be macro short, right? But it can be micro long. Like it can be you're in a downtrend, but today might be a pop day, right?
Yep.
How do you identify that? Well, if it hits a weekly or a daily level overnight or it's really close right before the open, it's really close to a daily or weekly level, then you know that that level is super stronger than a 5 minute level or a 1 minute level, right? There's three levels, if there's a daily level at the bottom, there's a 5 minute in the middle, and a 1 minute right above, what level are you going to trust?
5 minute a day, 1 minute a day. I mean, the daily would be the strongest. I prefer fives, um, but not a 1 minute. That's for sure.
Exactly. So if you enter on a 1 minute level, right? You should already be saying this can come down all the way to the 5 minute or all the way down to the daily level. If it's super close, right? If they're each two points apart from each other, right? So let's say you enter on a 1 minute and it's 4 points or 5 points to the daily level. Can you take that drawdown? Can you handle that drawdown, right? If
I
you
would say you should be if you're trading NQ. I mean, 5 points, you said, right?
I'm just referring to ES, right? NQ, you
Oh,
should
okay.
be able to handle
Got it.
that, but ES, let's just
Okay.
say your stop is $300. 5 points, that's $250, right?
Yeah.
Right.
With one contract. If you have two, then that multiplies it. You can't take that with that drawdown. So what do? You either wait to hit the 5 minute, and now you're only 2 points away from the daily level. You can manage that a lot easier than a 5 point drawdown.
Right.
Um, so yeah, you just gotta, once you put it all together, easy. Like
Hmm?
they're
I'm
pump
listening.
let's say they're pumping fear into the news, right?
Yeah.
But the market pops overnight. The market pops overnight, and they're talking about fear. So you know there's gonna be a pull back. It's gonna pull down. It's gonna pull down. Let's just say this is a daily, or yeah, let's just say this chart right here that we're looking at is not the daily, but let's just say the 5 minute. So it popped up all night right here. Let me change this color. Oops. It popped up all night, right? And they're pumping fear into the news, right? So their people are gonna be greedy, but they want to pull back to get in, right? So they
Yeah.
pumped it up all night, and now all the professional traders are waiting for this pullback, right? So you get pulled back and then they get in, they get greedy, right? But a rookie trader would probably get in here at the top of here to go long, which he's right to go long up here, but he didn't wait for the pullback,
Got it.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's always the opposite. So if they're being greedy, oh, it's going to be a soft landing. Trump's going to save the day or whatever it is. Powell's going to save the day. He's going to cut rates, whatever news it is. So if they dump it and they're talking greed, then it's going to pop up. It's going to pop up over here to go down, to continue going down. And that's how they trap people, because they tell them one thing, but they do another. They do the opposite. That's why I'm always saying, whatever the news is saying, do the opposite.
Makes
Okay.
sense.
Hopefully that answers your question easy.
Yes. Thanks.
Yeah, and then this one actually is kind of in related to counter trending as well. I try to not counter trend. For me, I don't. I don't think it's unless there's something like this one almost looks like a counter trend, right? But it really like you pointed out in the previous
Hmm.
this is a structure break.
Yep.
But on my EMA stack, it looks like a counter trend because we're full stacked up. But really, this could be coming in for a lower high wave,
Hmm.
um, since we got a structure break. But yeah, here's an example. So right, that my long was here on the previous. Took it up to here, got trail stopped here. Um, and then my ultimate target was up here. So really my trail stop was too tight, and that's something I've learned recently. And I start once I'm out my half the position, I'm just trailing these strong candles. Like I don't care. I don't care about the counter trends. I'm not trying to call the top. I'm not interested in that. I'm not I don't, so I'm just trailing these candles. So if I had actually trailed this properly, I would have actually hit my ultimate target. Um, because what happened here is I tried to counter trend, just mostly because we're in this zone. This is a golden pocket zone. So you got the original golden pocket, the 1618 pocket, and then the 2618 pocket. So yeah, I fit down here and we're in the zone. And so I'm going for this counter trend. Um, and then ultimately it comes down. I'm up 25 points. I have my stop to break even. Looking to at least tag this EMA, which normally I don't even like to do. I want to be entering at these, not looking to short back down to them or anything, trying to counter trend. Um, and but I did catch a great, in the middle of my zone here, did catch the basically the top. But even with catching the absolute top, I couldn't get more than 25 points.
Okay,
Because ultimately this came back and hit my trail stop here.
I think you need to learn how to counter trend trade, right? And this is MNQ.
Yeah, this is MNQ, but also I
Okay.
think counter trend trading is really advanced stuff. I don't
It is
see,
it
I'd
is
rather
more
be
advanced.
patient.
Yeah, it is more advanced, right? And it could cause over trading. One tip
Uh-huh.
though, one tip. When you're counter trend trading, you can't expect the same move as
Right,
with the trend, right? So
right.
one thing that Brandon taught us is, let's say for a typical move, right? ES 10 to 12 points.
Right.
That's typical move. NQ 25 to 30 points.
Hmm.
Typical move. When you're counter trend trading, I seen that you were up 25 points.
Yep.
That's
Right here. Then it came back and hit my break even.
you should have fucking locked in at least at 12 and then let a runner run to like 24 points or 25 points. Because
And yeah,
that's a typical move is 25 points, right?
yep,
So something that Brandon taught us, when you're counter trend scalping, cut your targets down. So if you're on ES, MES, if you're typically getting 10 to 12 points, cut it down in half, you
right,
know, 6 to 8 points. You cutting out, boom, you're done.
right,
MES or NQ, MNQ, 12 to 15 points. Boom, I'm done. If I get any extra 20 points, cool. I'm done. I'm out.
right.
And you had a good trade. You just didn't have
Yeah,
you didn't have your counter trend scalping hat on because you need to cut it because you caught what 40, 30 points on the way up, but then
yep. Hmm.
you
And that's what
broke.
I want to see.
Yeah, that's what you want to see, but you can't see it both ways. I mean,
Yeah,
sometimes you
definitely.
will get lucky, but if you know that you're getting in a counter trend, you need to chop down that target to at least
Yeah,
half.
that's a good point.
Otherwise it's gonna flip on you and fucking blow you out.
That's exactly what I'll do. I'll go ahead. Well, I personally, I don't really, I try to not, I will continue trying to not look for practice on them, but
Yeah,
on my
yeah,
main account,
that's what I was gonna say. I
um,
recommend you counter trend scalping on sim until you get used to it. Like if you finish, like you hit your daily goal and oh, I know this is going to be a counter trend scalp. Let me go practice that on sim. Once you start getting used to it, then you can live trade it. Cause then there's been plenty of times where Brandon was on and he's like, man, I should have hit the reverse. Cause what's he always say?
oh yeah.
Long targets are short entries
Uh-huh.
or vice versa. But it's hard. It's hard mentally to hit the reverse. I've never used the reverse button in 7 years trading.
Yeah.
It's like mentally hard to do that or to comprehend that. You're like, going against yourself, kind of. I don't know.
Right. No,
But
definitely. I think
but yeah,
it's also just like, I mean, how many times have has somebody, how many times, like I'm sure, a long time ago, you've been in the situation where a while ago, you're trying to counter trend, you're trying to counter trend, and then end up taking like three, four losses in a row just for it to eventually work, and it doesn't even make that much
yep.
in the first place.
Hmm.
Like I don't want to be risking over and over and then, trying to short like all the way up when I could have just been long with the trend the whole time and not thought I was smarter than the market or some shit like that.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something I want to practice because definitely at times I see my longs, if I, especially my runners, I'll see them go from up 80 points to profit stopped at 40. And maybe I could have instead counter trend scalped and turned that profit stop into just more profit.
Yep.
Um, but again, that's advanced stuff. I'll work on that. That's a great point.
Yeah, definitely.
Um,
You just want to be able to identify, okay, this is a counter trend scalp. This is a with trend trade. I can shoot for this, or I can look at structure, is it within my target?
yeah, I'll cut my stuff right in half. Um, but yeah, so this was two of these in a row that I think about. I also I note here that right, I was talking about my trailing. If I had trailed these strong 5 minute candles like I intend to, it actually never even got under this low here.
Yeah.
So that's another thing I got to think about if I'm counter trending is I shouldn't be looking for a target that's all the way past my with trend trail stop.
Hmm.
Yeah, what I mean, like that is asking for a trend reversal,
Yep.
I never want to be doing that. But
Well,
yeah, then it ultimately hit that target without hitting any trail stops.
another thing that you want to like, let's say you were in the trade, right? And you see that shy right there. You see how it shied right there?
Uh-huh.
That
Yep.
doji? Yeah, that
Yeah.
one.
Mm,
That's a strong indication that's gonna have like one more leg up.
yeah.
When
Yeah.
it shies a level,
Absolutely.
it's got like one more oomph into the leg, and then it's gonna exhaust down. Another thing that I was gonna recommend is, especially on NinjaTrader, what I used to do is, especially when I'm already 75% locked in, is I'll put a trail stop on my 10 SMA and I'll put it like two ticks below or up above. If
Yeah.
I'm going long, I put it two ticks below. And most of the time I found that it'll hit my target before it hits my 10 SMA. And if it hits my 10 SMA, I'm still locked in above my T1, my first
Yep.
target.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
definitely like on your long trade, if you would have attached it to the 9 EMA, I think that middle one,
Hmm.
it would have hit your target before it hit that moving average.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I think yeah, that's a great point. And then eventually when it smashes through the nine,
Yep. Uh, hey, lesson learned, right? Next time if you're gonna counter, let me I mean I would have locked in those 25 points.
yeah, for sure. You know what I mean? I got a whole full body 2 minute red candle. Yeah, I mean it came I should have at least locked in um
At least one at
at
24
least
point
one.
at least one at 20 points and the next
Uh,
one break even, you would have still been green.
yep. Yeah. As a
But
structure. It's still not ideally what I want to go for, right? Because
yeah,
then I'm small profit on one.
yep,
I like to get at least two times what I risk
yep.
personally.
Good.
Uh,
Good trades.
Thank you. But, yeah, I don't know how much time we got left. I just opened up everything from the week. Eventually, in this same day, we made that slight high that knocked me out of the first one. We hit my original target. Um, my MA started kind of rolling over, and then here's a counter trend I took that actually did work out. And it comes back to what we said earlier is that most breakouts don't. I've got rules on when I will kind of counter. Um, and it's when if my MAs are coming in for a potential lower high or higher low, um, or in situations like this where we had one, two, three, four, five, six 5 minute candles that couldn't break out of the range, and then decided that we could easily come down and if hit this zone again, I actually have my first target in the right spot this time. Um, so I put these. I'm actually when I was prepping these for today, I was glad they were back to back because this one I forgot that this one was next, but this one was a bad counter trend. I don't have much confirmation. I didn't take my targets quick enough. And then this one was a good counter trend in that I waited for it to sit here and consolidate and start to look weak. I had to sit in it for a while, but then ultimately came down, hit that target. I could put my trail stop. I put a reload here at the original dojis.
Yeah.
Um,
See something right here? See how the moving averages start to crest, go up? Or yeah, right
right.
there. Yeah, right there. See how
Hmm.
they start to crest?
Yeah.
That's what I like to see.
And that's actually right where I got in actually what I got in early here, yeah, and then I added once they actually started to wave. And that's one thing I noted too. So I've got another chart here, BRT moving averages, where I look at the 10 and I look if it's sloping. If I'm gonna try to look for a roll, I'll look for if the 10 SMA is rolling and all of that. I know that's stuff you look at.
Yeah, especially because the closest moving average, you said it was a five, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Look at the flap because on Ninja Trader you should have it on price action, not on bar close.
Yeah,
Because
I struggle with that one.
if you have it on bar close, then it'll flap right when that bar closes. But if you have it on price action, that moving average will flap up and down as the price moves.
Right.
And in the last 10 seconds of the 1 minute, the 2 minute candle, I don't trade, but just the example that I use is below the 50% mark of the time frame, right? So a five
Right.
minute candle, I'm starting to pay more attention to it. The 2.5 minute mark, I'm looking, are the bulls looking strong? Are the bears looking stronger? Whatever, right? Same with the 1 minute. Under the 30-second mark, I'm paying attention. And then under the 10-second mark is when it reveals itself. And that's when you can see like, okay, the bears are coming in harder or the bulls are coming in. The
Mhm.
next candle should open up strong. And that's how you can decide whether to get in or not.
Right.
But
Yeah, absolutely. I see that on the five a lot
yeah,
when it
you
comes
you
down to
get
those times.
the if you're trading anything other than the five, always use the five for confirmation.
Yep. Yeah, that's the main one I look at. I look at the two for like entry.
Yep, yep.
Um, kind of trying like doing some close a bar stuff.
Hmm.
Um, like but I got you got to be careful with that. There's a lot of missed opportunities waiting for close of bar. But whatever. Rather miss it than
Yeah,
Can I
you
risk it.
can I add something on it?
go for it.
Yeah, exactly. Just like Code is saying, right? There's a lot of missed opportunities on waiting for the close of bar or whatever. Again, like when you're trading, you're taking a risk. So assume the risk. By assuming the risk, you know that, I don't know, like if it's 10, 15 points, your risk, that's like an equivalent of, I'll say one or two candles, but there's some day NQ, one candle is freaking 20 points. But those are rare, all right? But if it's not a day that it's 20 points per candle, just assume the risk. Me, I don't wait for the board to close or whatever. Like I said, I enter as soon as it hits my level, and then I put my stop loss, and this is my risk. The trade will either work or it doesn't.
But it
Um,
hits your level with confirmation is what you're getting in with, right? Because you got to be careful. If it hits your level and there's no confirmation, the trade's probably going to go against you.
Correct. Yeah, correct. Yeah, yes, I agree. I agree. But like as you know, right? Me, I enter on the fair value gaps, but I
Yep.
enter on the top of a candle. I enter
Yep.
on the green candles.
Yep.
So yes, I already know this is the level or this is the area that I want to go short.
Yep.
So I'm just waiting for something to tell me yes, the short is working. And
Yep.
as soon as I see that, then yeah, like I said, if the candle is green, as long as it's not a freaking one huge ass candle for 30 points, then I'll enter short and then put my stop loss 15, 16 points.
Yep.
That's how I trade it.
And enter on a red candle for longs, but
Correct.
at the bottom of a red candle, right? Just like at the top of a green candle.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. And that
With
goes,
my style, I usually don't.
what's that?
I try to enter, for my style, I usually don't. I try to look for the I try to enter with the color that I want to continue going in.
Yeah. And that's fine.
But it's different for all strats, you know.
Everybody's gonna have their own strategy. But the thing that you have to study for any new trader coming into trading is you want to pay attention at how that candle hits your level, right? Because sometimes it'll just melt your level. Obviously, you know not to get in.
Right.
Yeah.
Uh, but that's what you gotta do. If it hits your level and it bounces right back up and it's like a doji hammer, then you know the buyers came in strong, right? And then the bears, you gotta look for prior structure. Let's just take this for instance right here. Uh, Dang it. All right, let's just take this candle right here, right? It hit your level and it bounced up and then it closed right here.
Wait, what which can I think
Oh,
the annotations, we still some of the old ones here. Maybe I
hold
should
on, let me
do it.
see. I
You
cleared
wait.
up. Can
There
you
we
guys
go.
see now?
Yep, now it's clear. Now I see your yellow circle right here. Yep.
Okay, hold on one sec. Let me clear that. Okay, so let's just say this candle right here, right? It hit your level, it almost
Hmm.
smashed through your level, but it bounced up. And then the
Yeah,
bears came in, right, on the top because it created a top wick.
right.
Um, so stay on that page real quick.
Yeah, yep, staying
So
there.
it hit your level and then you came back and it tested your level. And then this candle is strong,
Right.
right? Because it's full body. So
Uh-huh.
that's what you got to pay attention to. Okay. I know, scroll up a little bit.
Um,
So right there. So look at it hit your level and then you're looking at this level right here because you know the
uh,
bears are going to try to push it down again right there. Look at, and it did
uh-huh.
in the same candle.
Yeah.
And then they came up and then they opened up strong and then this one smashed through it.
Hmm.
So now the way that it smashed through it, if it closes like that candle right there,
Hmm.
strong above this level, then you know the next candle, if it pulls back, buy the dip, buy the
Yeah.
dip to go long.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. You need to figure out those characteristics of the candles of when they hit your level.
Hmm.
Not just get in because easy said to get in on a green candle short and get in long on a red candle, right? You need to be like,
Right.
okay, you need to identify that yourself
Yeah.
because just like you said, you have a different style of entering. You're gonna feel more comfortable entering your style than if you try to enter the way that I enter or easy enters. You're gonna be like, oh fuck, it's already going against me
Uh-huh.
because you're not used to that type of entry.
Absolutely. And that was huge.
And that's why Brandon, that's why I love about Brandon is he gives you the level, he tells you what the confirmation looks like, and now you got to look for that confirmation, right?
Yeah.
You need to look for that because his confirmation, even though it's the same level as my confirmation, he's probably getting in at the first tag, where I'm waiting 10 seconds or whatever, to look strong to get in.
Right.
And that's what you guys got to pull from Brandon is okay, I got his level. He already told me what the confirmation looks like, and now I gotta look for it. Now I gotta find it. And boom, it hits your level. You learn how to get in on a certain type of candle.
Hmm.
Because he might get in on the first tag red candle, right? And I'm waiting for a doji hammer to hold that level, and I'm getting in.
Right.
Even though we got on at the same level, right? We can get in at the same level, but he got on the first tag. I waited 30 seconds or a minute or two for a level to hold, and then I got in.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. I think the comfortability with style, that's huge.
and it,
Um,
and you're gonna create your own style within the strategy. You're
oh
gonna
yeah.
get you're gonna feel more comfortable getting in at your level a certain way instead of like, oh, I'm getting in, I'm getting in.
Yeah.
But yeah, good trade, man. Just
Thank you.
keep trading. Um, jot down any emotions that you know, especially on a red trade. If you feel that you were on tilt, write that shit down. Um, Especially if you journal, you're gonna be able to be like, okay, this day I was on tilt because I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. Maybe I shouldn't trade until I clear my head or whatever. Um, but journaling is a big part of helping you fix whatever mistakes you're doing. If you're not writing down your mistakes, you're never gonna fix them. Even though, like me, I would blow up an account and be like, oh man, I shouldn't have held that long, or I should have got out at this level. Next time, for sure, I'm getting in at this level. And I would just say, oh, I just have a mental note. Guess what
Right.
happens next week? Same fucking mistake.
Yep.
So write that shit down. And if you do make a mistake, how are you going to fix it? Write it in your journal. How am I going to fix this mistake? Because if you don't write it down, it's like Ray Dalio says, right? It's that feedback loop. Well, you can
Hmm.
have a mental feedback loop, but it doesn't stay in your head that long. You'll
Right.
forget about it in fucking by midday. But if you write it down, be like, okay, this was my mistake. This is what I could have done. This is how I'm gonna fix it next time.
Absolutely.
But yeah, good trades, good first week. Um, and next week we'll just keep recapping and you know, write down your mistakes. Try to share more red trades. If you have any red trades, try to share those. Because I find that most of us learn the most from teaching you
Hmm.
what not to do. Because like that, we're kind of reiterating to ourselves what not to do ourselves. I know it's
Yeah.
bad, but if all you have is green, share it, man. Because anybody else, we're gonna tell you our perspective of how we saw your trade. So like that, you can pick up other little nuggets from everybody else. But awesome week, good recaps, good trades, good start. Let's finish this finding my way strong. And yeah, welcome back. See you guys next week.
Welcome back. Welcome.